What are you doing in my swamp? What are you doing in my swamp? What are you doing?
I hope you liked that intro. I don't know why, but that was the first song that came to mind when I thought of Shrek. It was like, what are you doing in my swamp, donkey? Sorry. So, this is Daddy Shrek's extra thick portable adventure. Yeah, don't question me on the title. it just sounds funny to me. So, I'm going to be looking at a bunch of Shrek games, literally all of the Shrek games that are available on portable systems for the Game Boy Advance and the Nintendo DS. I'm not going to look at PSP because it's too similar to probably that of the PlayStation 2 versions and stuff like that. We're going to be exclusively looking at Game Boy Advance, Nintendo DS. Obviously, the very first Shrek game was the Game Boy Color, so that's included as well. So let's jump right into the video. It's going to be a wild ride, I'm hoping. Now, the first game we're going to be looking at is the very first game that was ever released based on Shrek. And that is Shrek Fairy Tale Freakdown. Now, I guess you probably wouldn't think that Shrek's first video game outing would be a 2D fighter on the Game Boy Color, but I don't know. Stranger things have happened. Now, let's talk about the game. Very basic controls. Very basic sprites. There's a fair amount of playable characters for a Game Boy Color game, and the game's pretty easy to play because of the basic controls. There you go. I've literally explained the entire game to you. It's a very basic game, a very basic 2D fighter, but then it's for the Game Boy Color. You can't really expect that much, if I'd be completely honest. But the best part of the game is Shrek's portrait. Just look at it. Look at it. That is the literal definition of uninterested. That is like, I'm unamused. That is perfect. I'm unamused, uninterested. I don't want to be here. I don't like what you've just done. That is just deplorable. And that's what that face basically tells me. But in fact, everyone's portrait is really weird, but Shrek's is the best. Anyway. Shrek's second game is another portable exclusive, and that is for the Game Boy Advance, and that is Shrek Swamp Kart Speedway. Now, we've seen games like this before. A terrible racing game that plays and looks like something like, I don't know, Crazy Frog Racer or Digimon Racing. You know, it's trying to copy Mario Kart Super Circuit, but puts no effort in trying to do so. Honestly, I don't know what they expect. They just pump these out just for a quick buck. I honestly swear. You know, all the courses look the same. The power-ups are bad. And the controls feel really floaty for some reason. You go sliding off the screen. You don't even mean to. You're only slightly pressing on the D-pad. It's like, what the hell? But yeah, terrible game. Don't ever play it. It's one of those types of games. It's just absolutely terrible. It's not worth your time. Just don't bother. The next game I'm going to be looking at is Shrek Hassle in the Castle. It's a 2D platformer slash beat 'em up where Shrek has a rather big head. Didn't realize while I was playing this game that Toze developed the game. Now you're probably questioning, why is this important, you may ask? It is because Toze made the Naruto Ninja Council series, and my first thought playing this was that this plays like a budget Ninja Council. So yeah, this is a budget Ninja Council. There's not really much else to say. It is what it is. Now, people must have enjoyed Hassle at the Castle so much that Toze decided to do a sequel, Shrek Wreaking Havoc. So, slight improvements over the previous game, but it's still a budget Ninja Council. Now, you may be wondering, what do I mean by a budget Ninja Council? Naruto Ninja Council, in my opinion, is an okay game. It's okay. That's all it is. It's a game where you go around. It's a 2D platformer, but also has fighting elements in it as well, where you can fight boss characters, and you can even have like a little fighting mode and stuff like that. And like I said, it's okay. The series did quite well in Japan, and it did okay here in the West, but ultimately it died out because lack of interest, I think, more than anything. But this game plays like a budget version of that, so it's worse. Isn't that great? Also, it has the same issue where you can easily get lost in the game, which was an issue in the first couple of Ninja Council games. Like, you'd be walking around, and you'll see these branching pathways that go up or down, and you follow them, and they lead to dead ends, and you have to end up backtracking. It was a pain in the ass. You know, I'm not asking it to be linear, but I'm also not asking it to be contrived. Finally, we're getting to some mainline games. Now I'm going to be looking at Shrek 2 for the Game Boy Advance. Now, just for a reference point, I had a quick go on the GameCube version, as I had never played the main console versions of Shrek 2 before. Now, I thought the GameCube version was okay, but you know what version isn't okay? It is the Game Boy Advance version, the one we're talking about. Hey! Now, the Game Boy Advance version is a 2D platformer, which is fine, but there's one major issue here. The main console's version's gameplay revolves around you working as a team to clear obstacles, switching between characters to achieve this goal. It's an interesting way to make a platformer, but I don't really like the mechanic. I feel it would be better if one character was on the screen at any one time and you could switch between the characters at will. But I stress that only one character would be on the screen at a time. In Shrek 2, all the characters are on the screen at once and you control all of them at the same time. This isn't an issue until you introduce the fact that if one character dies, it's game over. It's my opinion that it's not very fun. You know, my opinion is it's not fun. Not that fun. Now, for Shrek 2 on the Game Boy Advance, this has the option where you can play as one character at a time, which is good, right? Yeah, it was good. Wrong, because the other characters are still on the screen. You have to move each character separately, and by holding the L and R buttons, you can move together. But this doesn't work, as each character has a different jump height, or move faster than the other characters. It's ridiculous. Frankly, it's a fucking mess. And I expect better from Visarius Visions. Yes, this game was developed by Visarius Visions. I give this game a hard pass. On to the next game, and strangely enough, it's a sequel to the Shrek 2 GBA game. Yes, the Shrek 2 GBA game was that good that it got a sequel. Shrek 2 Beg for Mercy. That's literally going to be me once I'm done playing these these portable Shrek games. Okay, so it's a much better game for me personally. Couldn't see any sign of the switching character mechanic, which is beautiful. The game centers around Puss in Boots. Interesting choice, but okay. But at the same time, Puss in Boots is a much better character to control. He can also double jump, which helps. So, which have been better if each level let you play as a different Shrek character instead of making you switch, you know. But I'm not going to complain. Now, you can play as Shrek later in the game, but as I said, there's no unnecessary real-time character switching. And like I said, this game centers mainly around Puss in Boots. It's okay. It's definitely an improvement from the previous game with the whole character switching. The next game I'm going to be looking at is Shrek Super Slam, and once again I had to go on the main console version to just see what it's like. It's the last time I do this, by the way. I think it tries to be like Smash, but it kind of falls short. It's a really strange game, but it's not my cup of tea personally. Now, onto the GBA version. It's a fucking mess! You can hardly tell what's going on half the time. The stages both feel too small and too big. Maybe if the camera wasn't so up Shrek's ass, then I could see what's actually going on. The controls are also clunky as hell. Now, they have a DS version, so why even bother with this? The DS version is fine. Now, don't get me wrong, doesn't play as well as the main console versions, but it's fine. It's a very basic 3D arena fighter, in my opinion. At least this version has a better system for winning. The main console versions have you win by getting the most medals, and you can get medals for really random things, not based on how well you play at the game at all. Whereas in the DS version, you just have to perform more smashes on your opponent than they do on you. And the smash meter is filled by consecutively hitting your opponent. So at least if you play the game well, or you just cheese it like me, you get rewarded. It's okay. It's an okay port. Shrek Smash and Crash Racing. You thought the first GBA racing game was bad? Well, this is on a whole new level. So, I didn't play the main console version of this game. I didn't play it for the sole reason to have a different perspective, because with the previous two games, I played the main console versions to see what they were like, and overall, it kind of dampens down on the fact that it just instantly makes it that the portable versions are inferior in every way, shape, or form. So I thought, don't play the main console game, because I've never played the main console version of Smash and Crash Racing. So this is what I thought to do. But it turns out this game should not exist and is a complete waste of time. It's a racing game where you race with different types of transportation. Shrek is riding some swamp beast, Puss in Boots is riding a bull, Donkey is riding dragon, Princess Fiona is driving the onion carriage, and Pinocchio is riding a puppet wooden horse. So yeah, fuck it. I guess you could ride a planet in the race if you wanted to at this point. So what's the issue with this game? Well, it's easy. Clunky controls, which are even floatier than Swamp Kart Speedway, sprites that will make you want to puke, and bland, boring courses that are just palette swaps of each other. Yeah, it plays like an extremely budget Micro Machines game. So let's have a look at the DS version of Smash and Crash Racing. Now, I really haven't got much to say about the DS version. It's 100% better than the GBA version, but it's not like that's hard to do or anything. It's really kinda bland. It's not fun to play in the slightest, and gets boring really quickly. The controls are fine, I guess, but like I said, it's just boring. Like, you know this was going straight into the bargain bin not long after launch. It just feels really cheaply made, and it's not worth anyone's time at all. We are now finally moving on to another main series game. This time it is Shrek the Third, and I'm looking at both the GBA and DS versions. So, Visarius Visions is back for the final time, with both the GBA and DS ports of Shrek the Third. And they don't fix any issues I had with the previous games. Great! I thought that maybe they learnt their lesson by doing Shrek 2 Beg for Mercy, but apparently they didn't. The game plays the same, the literal same, as Shrek 2, where once again you have to switch between characters in real time to progress through the 2D platformer. It's clunky, unnecessary, and personally I hate it. Once again, it's a hard pass. Now we get to look at Shrek the Third for the Nintendo DS. And I didn't think it could get any worse than the GBA version, but I guess it can. The DS version also implements the real-time character switching, but on a whole new different shitty scale, by using the touchpad and stylus. This is no ordinary 3D platformer. This is use the stylus to jump and perform specific character-defined moves to progress through the level at a snail's pace kind of 3D platform. And that sums it up completely. It feels like it takes forever to complete a level. The touchpad controls are phoned in and completely not needed, and you have to once again switch between characters in real time to get past certain character-specific obstacles. The game is fucking shite, and it is, honestly, why do you have to make me so angry, game? It's just, I thought they couldn't make it worse, but yet somehow they did. I don't get it, I really don't. Whoa! Way forward, everyone! The creators of such great games as Shantae, Contra 4, DuckTales Remastered, and Shrek Ogres and Dronkeys. Yes, a Shrek simulation game where you are the babysitter for Shrek's and Donkey's children, where you have to play with them and bathe them exists. What the literal fuck? I don't know what to say. You play with the babies, bathe them in dirty swamp water, and take them around Shrek's front garden collecting snails and onions. There's the occasional minigame that plays like shit as well, and that's it. Why, in the name of Sauron, does this exist? Okay, now that we've gotten past the what the fuck was that in the room, we're gonna move on to Shrek's Carnival Craze. Now, I ain't really got much to say about this game. Think Mario Party without the board game mechanic and with really shitty minigames that are both disgraceful and extremely boring. Do that and you have Shrek's Carnival Craze. I literally have nothing else to say on this game. Its existence is what I've just described, and that's it. Here, have a look at some of the boring games. There you go. We've done it! Ladies and gentlemen, we're on the final game. We're at the home stretch. But thank God this last game exists. Thank God. It's the saving grace of all the Shrek games. Finally! Some good game! Shrek Forever After for the Nintendo DS. Just kidding, the game's nothing special, but it far surpasses the previous main series Shrek DS and GBA games. This time, for Shrek Forever After, Visarius Visions decide to step down and let someone else develop the portable version. Thank fucking God. And thank Sauron they did! This is by no means an exceedingly good 3D platformer, but it doesn't have any of that shitty mechanics that the previous games had, like real-time character switching. You play as Shrek. Shrek controls fine. It plays like any other 3D platformer and doesn't stand out. You may come across the optional minigame where you can play as other Shrek characters, but you can also completely ignore them. This game is fine. It doesn't stand out, but somehow is my favorite portable game of this collection. Why? Because it doesn't play like shit and barely surpasses the border meter. That's it. We've done. We've played all of the Shrek portable games for the Game Boy Advance and Nintendo DS. That's it. We're done. There's not much else to say. I hope you've enjoyed the video, because it was interesting playing these portable versions of Shrek games, as I'd never played a Shrek game in my life before this. It was interesting to see what they're like, but I'm gonna be honest, pretty much all of them were shit. They were all shit. They were all fucking terrible. At least Shrek Forever After was okay, but it wasn't really a good 3D platformer. So, yeah, I don't know. All these Shrek games that aren't on the main consoles, all the portable versions, just seem to be cash grabs in my eyes. They just seem to have done the version, they just slapped it together and gone, yeah, that's Shrek. That's my big thing right there. So, yeah. Thanks for watching. I've been Bio, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Get out of my fucking swamp.